speaking of getting your t-shirts out, now that you mentioned that, I was going to talk about this with Ariane a few weeks ago, and then we just got so busy and I forgot. So I'm going to have this discussion with you tonight, Sarah.
I'm ready.
Okay. I am sure you have followed that the church late last year indicated that they were going to be releasing some new styles of women's garments, including some tank tops, as well as half slips and regular full slips. Very, very dramatic change
Yeah.
from what the regular, what the garment has been for several years now.
Yeah.
So when the church released that they were going to do this, they said, at least for the saints in America, y'all aren't getting them till the end of 2025. They were going to release these to the saints that lived in the warmer and hotter climates, which again, I cannot beef with that because they probably deserve that more than me.
Yeah.
I'm just vain, and I freely admit it. Anyway, so what I have been noticing is, I guess because I talk about garments frequently enough on Twim, and your iPhone is always listening, that the algorithm for Instagram has picked this up, and it has suggested to me several influencers, so to speak, who have recently been able to get their hands on these new garments and have been not showing the garment itself, but showing the clothing that they can wear over the garment on Instagram. So there was a first one that I saw, and she detailed several different styles and showed several different styles. Then there was one today that popped up, and I liked her enough. I actually followed her today. In fact, I'm
Okay.
I'm gonna I'm gonna reach out to her and see if there's any chance I can get her on the show. I probably can't, but I'm gonna try, because when she was giving this description of the garments and she was talking about some of the reasons and things for the change, she seemed to indicate that she had done some advocacy with the church for
Mm.
this. And so I was like, oh, I'm very curious about this. So she has the new tank top, and she also has a modest clothing company, which would be another fascinating thing to talk to her about. So she's got this modest clothing company. She's showing what the tank top looks like with a regular, with a tank top over the top. And then she, of course, is designing tank tops for her modest clothing company that can be worn with these new garment tank tops. Let me
Okay.
tell you, these garment tank tops blow my mind.
It's a
Like,
big change.
it's a huge change.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're scooped pretty low in front and they're scooped pretty low in back. And it looks like they have probably maybe an inch and a half, kind of along the shoulder. I mean, it's a legit tank top that she's wearing. So her Instagram is called Modest Shoppin'. MODESTSHOPPIN is her Instagram. It for anybody who wants to go follow her and see her modeling the garment tank tops with a regular tank top over the top. Like I said, it is like completely mind blowing. She also did the half slip and talked about the half slip. I haven't seen her do one with a full slip yet. Anyway, so fascinating to see these kind of popping up on Instagram. Of course, it made me wonder, okay, she must have traveled to a foreign
Well,
country to
that's
get
my
her hands
question
on
is like,
these.
how is this like they're not I mean, the church is not like sending like samples to influencers, right? Like that
Well,
seems weird. Like, I don't know though. I mean, I don't know how this all works, but that feels weird.
I I would assume that because I mean that's legit how clothing companies do it is they do send samples to
Ugh,
influencers,
I mean, yeah,
hoping that
but
hoping that influencers will try their clothing on. But I don't think the church does that.
like it feels weird
Although
for the garment. That's what it's like, I
it
mean, I get
does.
it, for fashion, right? But
Yeah. Although I really was curious when she said that she'd had some input on some of these designs,
yeah,
it
that's
made me
true. She
wonder, okay, did they send her some tops to try because she had some input? I just don't know, because the other girl that I saw, and I can't remember who she is, that was on Instagram doing this, because I didn't follow her. I didn't elect to follow her. I didn't find her as engaging as this
yeah,
particular girl.
yeah.
Anyway, uh, she never said anything about,
Yeah.
I was advocating for change, I was advocating for this. So, again, it just made me wonder, did you go to a foreign country where these are available and go to church distribution?
I
And then
mean,
I
I know someone that did that and brought them back
Uh-huh.
here. So, like, it's not
Yeah,
I mean, that's happening, you know what I mean? We all
it's
know that's
happening,
happening,
exactly.
but I don't know, it's weird. I keep feeling like I hope that um, like, the actual people that are making like, purchasing for the distribution centers in Utah, like, really understand like, how many people want them. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like
I do.
I mean, remember when there was, like, that shortage of garments and you couldn't
Oh,
buy
yeah,
them forever? Like, I'm like, I like, this is a big deal. Everyone's gonna want them. You need, like, more than you think you need. Like, please
egg
overorder because I just feel like it's gonna be intense.
exactly, that is exactly how I feel too, is I feel like it's gonna be intense, and what made me think of it is, I mean, down there in St. George where it is so warm, would you consider the tank top garment with a tank top? Should it become available in your area?
Well, I thought when I read the original thing, I was like, "Oh, we'll get it because
Yeah,
it's hot here." Like, I mean, like, it's really hot, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But, I mean, it's not hot and humid, so, like, I understand when they were then I read, like, the list of countries, I'm like, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Please go to Thailand first, that's fine." Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But, like,
exactly.
we have to be on the list somewhere, but I think if they can't I just don't think you can release it in St. George and not in Salt Lake. You know what I
I
mean? Like, I
I
just feel like
agree.
it's too close.
I
But
agree.
I mean, everyone I know is, like, waiting on bated breath for them
Yeah,
to get to our distribution center, so I really want it to be, like, available
yeah,
for everybody to figure out,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Together we can all I was talking to a friend about this recently this week, and she said that well, we were talking back and forth a little bit about it's gonna be like a cultural shift a little bit, like, we're all gonna kinda have to work together to figure out how we all do you know what I mean? Like, because it's just been
I
such a
do.
standard for forever in this certain way, and to have it be totally different now is that's a big change, I don't know, it's gonna
It
be kinda fun to
It
work through.
is it is going to be a very big change. I had a couple of I things that came to mind as I was like, first of all, in the summertime, to see women show up in sacrament meeting in sleeveless dresses, because
Yeah,
there are a lot of sleeveless dresses out there. And I mean, that is so outside of the
I
norm of what we
know.
usually see for sacrament meeting,
Yeah,
and if there are people there who don't, maybe don't follow the internet as much, aren't aware of these new garment
I
styles,
know.
are they just gonna be like, "Why are all the women in tank dresses?"
Yeah. Well, even take it one step further, what about a wedding dress? You can wear a
Oh,
wedding
yeah.
dress that's I mean, not maybe not in the
Yeah.
temple, right? But, like,
Yeah.
outside, you're I
Exactly.
feel like you and I feel like we should all be, like, proud to call them ours. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
which is just gonna be a I don't know, we're all gonna have to really work on the, like, maybe unconscious, like, decisions we're making or bias that we hold. We're gonna have
Yes.
to kind of all work through that a little bit because that's a big change and it's gonna be
Mhm.
new.
I think we are going to have to work through that because it will be visually so different.
Yeah.
You know, here's the thing that I am wondering about just for me personally. So, I'm very excited about the tank top option, but I don't know if I'm actually going to wear a tank top.
Yeah.
Now, 20 years ago, absolutely I would have worn a tank top. The
Yeah.
problem I have now is I have old lady flabby arms. And so I don't know if I really want to wear a tank top
Yeah.
just because I don't
You
know if I
can.
want to I've got my old lady flabby arms. And so I
Yeah.
don't know if I'll actually do that. I'm sure that I will buy several because I could see me, like, wearing it around the house,
Yeah.
on an at-home day or something like that. I could definitely see that. I just don't know if I'd go out in public, not that I would feel immodest, but just I don't want my flappy old lady
Well,
arms
just it's
flapping
not the
around.
fashion you're, like, choosing to,
Yeah,
wear, which is
exactly.
fine. Yeah, it's interesting though because I think that'll make a big difference even in the kinds of dresses, like just the cut of the garment sleeve now, like
Yeah,
eliminates dresses that even have a sleeve. Do you know what I mean? But like
yeah,
the little armhole is like just
exactly.
off or whatever. So I think it's gonna make a lot of fashion more possible. I mean, like certainly a sleeveless dress is more possible because it doesn't have a sleeve on there, but also, like, even a lot of the other ones you'll be able to wear without worrying, if anything's, like, popping out.
Exactly.
So,
Well, and that's one of the things that this influencer was showing is she was showing that the armhole underneath on these tank top garments was so much lower so that
yeah,
it's not showing the garment through, with the
yeah.
tank top.
Do you
So,
think that, like, they had to sit and make a decision on, like, is this garment really going to be about modesty, or is it going to be about our covenants? And they, like, chose covenants, right? Because
yeah.
it's a big give to, like, take away the whole sleeve, like, but I really
Yeah,
feel like maybe we really are serious about this is about our covenants and a reminder
exactly.
of, you know what I mean, the work that we're doing here, and
Exactly.
I think that's a cool message that's being sent is, like, this is not about modesty
Modesty. And that's what I
in
think
our
too, because
traditional way that we've thought about it forever.
exactly, because growing up, I remember when I got to be a teenager, my mom was like, "You'll not wear shorts." And I'm like, "Why?" "Because when you go through the temple someday, you can't wear shorts and shorts are immodest."
Right.
And I was just like, it was one of those things as a teenager that I was just like, didn't make any sense to me
Yeah,
whatsoever, because again, it was so historically tied to modesty.
right.
And I think it is less tied to modesty and more tied to our covenants, which I hope means that, because we've talked about this on the show, there are a lot of the younger generation that, that, they're their garment wearing is a little different than what my garment wearing is. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. And so will this encourage more of that? I don't know, because I know that there have been a lot of issues with the styles and the fabrics
Mhm.
and certain things with regards to the garment. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how this rolls out. It is going to be very interesting as the summer rolls along to
I
see
know.
who has been to a foreign country and who hasn't. I
I haven't
I
been. Can you believe it? I forgot to plan a trip. I didn't know.
plan a trip to go get your garments. Okay, I had a wicked thought tonight. I was like, "Oh, this is awful." We've got a sister missionary in our ward, an older sister missionary,
Okay.
and she is in the Philippines and she comes home in May. And I was like, should I send her an email and say, "Deanne, score me one of the slips and score me one of the tank tops and please bring them home to me."
That's gotta be the way a lot of people are getting them, right? Like, I feel like that's gotta be it.
It could be. I know.
Oh, that's so funny. I
I'm
love it.
I am not going to do that. I am not going to ask Deanne to do that, but I was like, "Oh, she's in the Philippines."
Maybe she'll listen to the podcast and she'll just do it, you know? I mean, it's world
Um,
famous, right? The whole
it's
podcast.
world famous. I have a feeling on her mission listening to my lowly little podcast here is
You
probably
never
not
know
a
what
high
your sphere of
priority.
influence is, you know?
There you go.